The darkest origin story of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza starts with the missing children incident. In 1985, 5 kids were brutally murdered by William Afton, then stuffed inside the animatronic suits at one of the pizzerias. That's right, these weren't just haunted robots, they were gruesome machines fused with crushed, decomposing human bodies. Imagine forcing a tiny human corpse into a metal endoskeleton designed for costumes. Bones broken, tissue crushed, fluids mixing with grease, and wires inside those suits. On the surface, you just had some creepy animatronics, but here's where it gets horrifying. The children's spirits were trapped inside these twisted mechanical shells. Instead of rest, they endured eternal psychological torment, possessed by confusion and anger, doomed to stalk the pizzeria every night in grotesque hauntings. Their animatronic forms weren't just machines coming to life, they were vessels of trapped souls endlessly reliving their last moments of trauma and fear, unable to find peace. This horrific fusion of flesh and metal drives the entire franchise's curse. The animatronics' vengeful attacks, the eerie glitches, even the corporate horror stories, all trace back to those 5 children stuffed like human dolls inside the suits. It's the foundational nightmare, the cruel blend of child murder and mechanical torture that turned a family restaurant into a never-ending nightmare factory. So when you face those animatronics, remember, they're not just robots gone rogue, they are the living legacy of William Afton's monstrous deeds. A reminder that the most gruesome fate in FNAF isn't death itself, but the endless imprisonment between flesh and machine. Next up, Phone Guy's chilling fate on Night 4, when the horror hits closer to home. Phone Guy, the Night 4 attack. Phone Guy is the original voice guiding you through the twisted nightmare of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. But on Night 4, his calm, instructional tone breaks down into panic, and that's when you know things have gone horribly wrong. He's attacked during the phone call, cornered by multiple animatronics at once in the cramped office, with a terrifying crescendo of banging, mechanical screeches, and finally a piercing scream that ends the line. Here's the thing, Phone Guy had spent previous nights explaining how the animatronics don't see humans as people, but as empty animatronic shells. He warned they would try to forcibly stuff you inside a Freddy suit. And now, he's the unlucky guy getting a violent demonstration of exactly that fate. We never see it visually, but all signs point to a crushing attack, a combination of heavy metal frames and machinery shoving him into a suit that was never meant to hold a real human body without mutilation. His final moments happen as he knows what's coming, trapped by the very terror he described in his own tutorial calls. It's a horrifying mix of physical agony and psychological torment, his panic rising as the attackers close in. Phone Guy's death serves a chilling narrative purpose. The knowledgeable adult, not just some clueless night guard or child, is no match for the animatronic's menace. His fate brings deadly stakes home, showing the horror isn't just for the kids or the naive. The tutorial voice becoming a victim humanizes the threat and makes it hauntingly personal. But if you think that's grim, wait till you hear about the man who wasn't so lucky around spring locks and mechanical traps. William Afton, the spring lock failure. William Afton is the ultimate horror story in FNAF, a serial killer who literally got consumed by his own twisted tech. After murdering countless children while dressed in animatronic-like suits, he tries to escape the vengeful spirits hunting him by hiding inside a Spring Bonnie Springlock costume. Sounds like a smart move, right? Turns out no. Springlock suits are these bizarre hybrids. They can be worn like a costume, but when Springlocks fail, all the internal metal rods, gears, and crossbars snap back instantly with brutal force. Imagine thousands of pounds of sharp metal snapping inward inside a tight metal shell. That's exactly what happens to Afton. As he tries to protect himself, the spring locks catastrophically release. The metal endoskeleton inside the suit impales him from within, driving steel spikes through his limbs, torso, and probably his skull. It's not just a crushing death, it's more like being skewered alive on a medieval torture rack made of rusty gears. But here's where it gets even worse. His body doesn't just die and rot somewhere else. The suit and his corpse become fused into a single horrifying amalgam, Springtrap. You're looking at a half-rotted mechanized zombie still trapped inside the very killer's costume he used to lure victims. His spirit is bound to this decaying corpse suit, stuck eternally caught between life, death, and machine. Springtrap is no longer just a man, he's a walking monument to his own sins, a terrifying monster born of poetic justice. This death isn't just gruesome because of the mechanics of Springlocks snapping inward and shredding flesh. It's the central turning point in the series' mythology. The remorseless serial killer becomes his own captive, hunted by the ghosts of those he wronged, forced to live forever as both predator and prey. So William Afton doesn't just just die by machine, he becomes his own monster. And if you think that's bad, wait until you hear how his story continues with the discovery of Springtrap by a certain unsuspecting employee. Phone Dude, the Springtrap Awakening. Phone Dude is the laid-back, surfer dude voice guiding us through Fazbear's Fright, the horror attraction built around Freddy Fazbear's twisted past. Unlike Phone Guy from the original game, he treats the murders and hauntings like just another spooky backdrop for thrills and laughs. That casual, exploitative vibe is what sets him apart. But here's the kicker: as soon as Fazbear's Fright staff discover a real animatronic hidden away, Springtrap, his calls suddenly stop. Don't just chalk it up to him quitting. The attraction is a cramped mess of props, old animatronic parts, and narrow hallways. Springtrap isn't any machine. He's William Afton, trapped inside a malfunctioning spring-lock suit, a walking death trap of rusted metal and rotting flesh. If Phone Dude faced him up close, it's basically a one-sided fight. Springtrap's attack style is brutal and up close, smashing victims into walls or crushing them with steel and weight. In a tight space like Fazbear's Fright, fleeing is nearly impossible. His instinct as a killer trapped in a suit means he could restrain victims, drag them into hiding, or force them into another deadly costume. Phone Dude's jokes about the authentic Scream Museum turn grim when the horror he's mining for laughs claims him. His story is a classic horror comeuppance for exploiting tragedy. He profits off children's deaths and nightmares as entertainment, but when the real nightmare surfaces, Springtrap fully alive, he vanishes. It's poetic justice. The careless curator becomes just another victim trapped in the haunted past he mocked. Lore-wise, Phone Dude's death is a dark symbol for Fazbear's Fright itself, an attraction built on exploiting trauma with fatal consequences for those who disrespect it. But if you think dying to Springtrap is grim, wait until you hear how deep the crying child's trauma runs in the next section. The Crying Child, the Bite of 83. The Bite of 83 is one of the darkest, most shocking moments in the entire FNAF saga. It's the brutal, fatal event that defines the Crying Child's tragic story. A kid crushed by Fredbear's jaw during a supposed birthday party. But hear me out, the details here go way beyond a simple accident. Officially, the Crying Child, a scared and bullied kid locked away by his older brother, is dragged to a party where Fredbear performs. In a cruel prank, his head is shoved into Fredbear's open mouth, and the jaw snaps shut with terrifying force. The game freezes on the crushed skull, blood and muffled screams, before cutting to a hospital scene, implying fatal brain trauma. It's tempting to think of this as a freak injury from a malfunction, but the force needed to crush a child's skull like that has to be immense, far beyond any normal animatronic jaw. Think hundreds of kilos of pressure, like a great white shark bite mixed with a hydraulic press. This isn't just a show animatronic, it's a machine that can pulverize bone and brain in an instant. The Crying Child's trauma runs deeper. He's already haunted by bullying, locked away, scared in his own room. Nightmares of nightmare animatronics stalking him are constant. Then to be betrayed, forced headfirst into the jaws of his worst fear by family and so-called friends. That turns cruelty deadly. Here's where it gets weirder. The bite doesn't just kill him. His spirit lingers, linked to hauntings of Fredbear or Golden Freddy, suggesting unresolved suffering. His plush Fredbear might even hold his trapped consciousness. Lore-wise, the Bite of 83 resets the early FNAF timeline and cranks up the franchise's body horror. This isn't an off-screen accident anymore. It's a crushing, mechanized death at the Afton family's heart. Some theories say it confirmed to William Afton that souls survive death, pushing his twisted experiments further. The Crying Child's fate is childhood fear, family betrayal, and merciless machine cruelty fused. If you think that's disturbing, wait until you hear what the Circus Baby Claw did to Elizabeth Afton. Elizabeth Afton, the Circus Baby Claw. Elizabeth Afton's death is one of FNAF's most tragic blends of family horror and mechanical terror. She's William Afton's curious young daughter, drawn to Circus Baby, the animatronic her father built, meant to be friendly but deadly. When she reaches out for an ice cream prize, the hidden claw inside Baby's stomach springs out, grabbing her fast and mercilessly. This claw isn't just a grabber, it's an industrial kidnapper designed to seize children. It clamps down, crushing and dragging Elizabeth into a tight metal cavity inside Baby's torso where she's trapped. The confined space, choking darkness, and mechanical pressure almost certainly cause immediate lethal injury, crushing bones, suffocating lungs, or both. Her body becomes a grim prisoner inside a cold steel shell. Here's where it gets heartbreaking. Elizabeth's spirit doesn't just drift away. Instead, it fuses with Circus Baby's animatronic programming, creating a twisted dual consciousness trapped forever inside the machine she once admired. Baby's voice and behavior after this event hint at Elizabeth's lingering presence. Calm but mournful, increasingly manipulative, she becomes a haunted puppet of her father's monstrous creation. isolation, forced to assist in further horrors against others, especially her own family. Her death personalizes Afton's sins. While previous victims were strangers or random children, this was his own daughter, lost to his obsession with weaponized robotics and control. The nightmare of trust betrayed shines through. Elizabeth trusted Baby as a friend, only to be murdered by her. It's the ultimate betrayal, mixing childlike innocence with cold engineered captivity. Narratively, Elizabeth's possession drives Sister Location's plot and animatronic rebellion. Her spirit coordinates with other Funtime animatronics, leading to their breakout plans and the eventual events that pull Michael Afton into deadly danger. She's both victim and dark agent, forever haunted by the claw that killed her. In short, Elizabeth's death is family tragedy fused with machine horror. The little girl crushed and lost inside a monstrous toy designed by her own father. And if you think that's horrifying, wait until you see what happens to Michael Afton in the Scooper room next. Michael Afton, the Scooper. Michael Afton's fate is brutal in a uniquely industrial way. The Scooper, the underground facility's gruesome maintenance machine, was built to dismantle animatronic suits by ripping out their internal endoskeletons for repair. But Michael isn't a costume. When he steps into the scooping room, the machine tears into his insides with surgical precision, violently removing his organs while leaving his skin mostly intact. Think of it as mechanical disembowelment that disguises a horrific truth. Here's the kicker. The Scooper's job was never designed for a living human body, yet it slices Michael open and hollows him out anyway. His internal parts are ripped free so the combined animatronic entity Ennard can crawl inside and wear Michael's empty shell like a grotesque disguise. That's right, Michael's body becomes a walking corpse suit. It's an inversion of the original creepiness, where animatronics held human bodies. Now a human corpse holds a robot. But wait, it gets darker. Michael isn't just a lifeless husk. He remains conscious and animated, reanimated by some mixture of supernatural possession and advanced sci-fi tech. After Ennard abandons his body, the mutilated Michael lurches to his feet, a decomposing shell bearing the memories and will to keep fighting his family's cursed legacy. He becomes an undead, rotting agent trapped in permanent torment. This fate merges industrial horror with sci-fi body horror. It raises unsettling questions about what truly dies when the body is stripped bare, yet the mind or soul clings on. Michael's existence blurs the line between flesh and machine, life and death. His disembowelment isn't just a physical attack, it's a horrific erasure and rebirth as a ghostly mechanical hybrid forced into eternal decay. Michael's fate also deepens the franchise's theme of the Afton family's self-destruction. The monstrous Scooper doesn't just kill, it creates a new form of agonizing undead life. This fate's grisly, tech-driven nature contrasts with earlier kills but ups the ante on torment and body horror. If you think this is brutal, Jeremy's gruesome face guillotine self-mutilation takes things to a whole new level. Jeremy, the face guillotine. Jeremy, the VR beta tester in Five Nights at Freddy's. Help Wanted has one of the most horrific fates in the franchise. Unlike the earlier physical animatronic attacks, Jeremy's torment is digital possession taken to a grotesque extreme. After being exposed to Glitchtrap, the sinister AI virus born from William Afton's consciousness trapped inside the game's code, Jeremy slowly loses his grip on reality. Here's the kicker. Overwhelmed by Glitchtrap's insidious control, Jeremy resorts to self-mutilation by using a guillotine-style paper cutter. This isn't your average paper shredder. It's a large office device with a razor-sharp blade designed to slice through thick stacks of paper in one swift, brutal motion. Jeremy deliberately presses his face onto it and slams the blade down, causing catastrophic facial trauma. The blade would slice through cheeks, nose, lips, and possibly bones in his jaw and skull. Major arteries and veins in the face would rupture, leading to rapid, heavy bleeding. If the blade went deep enough, it could expose brain tissue. The sheer violence and desperation behind using such a mundane office equipment for self-destruction is gut-wrenching. What makes this even darker is Jeremy's psychological torment before the act. Tape Girl's audio logs describe him exhibiting paranoia, dissociation, and hallucinations. Glitchtrap's digital virus manipulates his perceptions, blurring the line between his own mind and the infected VR world. Despite warnings to his manager about flashes and nightmares, Jeremy spirals deeper, isolated, and out of help. His brutal self-mutilation isn't just suicide. It's a desperate, symbolic attempt to sever the virus's hold, destroying the sensory organ that connects him to Glitchtrap. But here's the thing, the virus likely persists, turning Jeremy into another lost soul, trapped by Fazbear's growing digital curse. Jeremy's fate marks a turning point in the series. FNAF's horror evolves from haunted machines to mind-breaking psychological and tech-based terror. His gruesome, self-inflicted face guillotine blends the visceral trauma of old-school body horror with modern fears of viral possession and loss of control in virtual spaces. If that chills you, just wait until we dive into Cassie's terrifying elevator plunge next. Cassie, the Elevator Plunge. Cassie's fall into the elevator shaft at the end of Security Breach. Ruin is a brutal departure from the franchise's usual animatronic attacks, plunging the horror into the realm of physical trauma and psychological betrayal. She isn't crushed by metal jaws or torn apart by mechanical claws. Instead, she's dropped into darkness, likely suffering lethal blunt force trauma as the elevator barrels down an empty shaft. The sheer impact, combined with subsequent structural collapse or shaking, would cause fractures, organ damage, and probably instant or near instant death. Before you think it's just a dramatic fall, hear me out. The Ruin DLC frames the elevator drop as a calculated sacrifice. Gregory, or someone mimicking him, convinces Cassie to step into the elevator to trap or contain the mimic AI. This isn't just an accident, it's a betrayal from someone she trusts. That makes the plunge not only physically horrifying, but psychologically devastating. Imagine facing death alone, trapped in metal with no way out, and knowing the person you tried to save gave you up. The elevator itself feels cold and claustrophobic, a metal cage with vertical doors, amplifying the sense of imprisonment unlike past open or more exposed deaths in the series. Plus, there are hints that Cassie's experience might be layered with psychological horror. The VANNI mask used earlier in the DLC suggests some of these events could be distorted mental illusions or VR manipulations, making the trauma both physical and mental. Whether her injuries are real or partially simulated, the sense of hopelessness and abandonment is undeniable. What's striking is how Cassie's fate represents the newest generation of victims caught in the endless corporate tech nightmare that Fazbear Entertainment has become. She's not a child kidnapped like the missing children, nor a tech employee manipulated by glitches like Jeremy. She's a brave young hero swallowed by a collapsing megastructure and betrayed by an imposter in human form. It's the evolution of FNAF's horror, from animatronic monsters to psychological and infrastructural terror. Her plunge is a grim metaphor for how the cycle continues. Fresh faces are drawn into Fazbear's darkness, only to be lost in machinery or digital traps beyond their control. The elevator shaft sends Cassie into a void, physically crushed, mentally shattered, and left as yet another echo in the Fazbear curse. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.